Mina's amazing. She took that scary thing down in barely a second. She completely left me in the dust, didn't she?
Sir?
Yeah?
When you told me to run, you definitely made the right call. So thanks. I was lucky you were there to look out for me. If not for you, I'll be dead now. You were really cool today.
We'll both join and see who can be the cooler Defense Force officer.
You should seriously think about joining the Defense Force. Still, your call, obviously. It makes no difference in my life.
You're right. Enough is enough. I can't keep running from the truth forever. Thanks again, Ichikawa. Seriously, you're a good guy. For the record, I don't think giving up is always wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's never okay to lie to yourself. So yeah, I'm going to give the Defense Force another... Huh?
Found you.
Kaiju!
You okay? Is it your injury, sir? Hold on, sir.
Huh? Ichikawa, it's still me in here.
He's reporting you. We need to run, sir. We should be voice actors.
Our longest quote ever.
We should be voice actors.
Totally worth
Confirm. It. We are good material for voice acting.
Thank you, Mr. Foley, by the way. Nice one.
Oh my God.
Hey, Robert, we did it in one try.
There you go. Just one try.
Got it right.
Oh my God, we're having so much fun with this thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. I am your number one kaiju, Robert.
And I am the mad kaiju scientist Ray from South Florida, otherwise known as Australia.
And I am Chaos number one. Always your number one.
Always.
Chaos number
How
one.
could he be anything else?
I do want to see that anime though. I would have to say.
Chaos number one.
Chaos number one. Yes.
I don't know if it's gonna be for the whole family though.
It might make families, but it's not for the whole family. So, what have you guys been watching besides kaiju?
I go.
Okay, go on.
My wife had no emotions.
Oh, God, that show's good.
How does that feel, Gio? My wife has no emotions. Okay.
Good. The problem is when the dishes start piling up. But then, we got canceled.
Oh my God. Anyway, moving on. This is actually the second. Is it the second time that I mentioned this anime?
Well, for the record, she's a house appliance, apparently, right? So it will be a problem, really, if the dishes pile up.
She's a robot.
Well, the dishes were piling up because she was away in the last episode.
That's true. We're all watching that, though.
Yeah,
right?
We're all watching that. The only thing is that I'm not reading the manga. You guys are. So that's the only difference.
Oh, I'm waiting on the manga, buddy. I'm waiting on that thing. And I am disappointed there's not a light novel about it.
Yeah.
See? Well, you've gotten me to a world rate that I am not happy about. Now I'm looking for light
failure frame.
Yeah, but I need to finish Redundancy. And I haven't even read the other Creation.
You need to read Creation, yeah, definitely. I want to discuss that with you. My God, you're in for some like.
Oh man, what else have you been watching, Robert?
Well, since I finished Halo Season 2 and it left a huge
Wait.
in my heart.
You had to do it with me, man.
I can't time it because of the distance. There's a delay.
Okay. Since Halo left a huge void in my life, I have been playing
Halo left a halo in your life?
Halo Infinite.
He's been through the Halo, now he has to go through the Lolo.
And yes, I got a surprise for you guys. I watched Pluto Nash.
Again.
Yes.
With me. So it was special.
Because
the bromance is real.
Because I love that. I love that movie. As you guys
you indoctrinated him.
Man, you gotta love about Pluto Nash to see Jeff Bezos as an android bodyguard.
It's so good.
Right?
And that is all that I have watched sci-fi related.
What about you, Chaos? What have you been watching?
Well, my wife has no emotion for sure. I'm saddened that I'm waiting on. It was cool, the new episode though. I feel like it's keeping a good pace with the manga. I watched Pluto Nash. I had a good laugh with that one. So many good jokes, man. So many good jokes. And it's your classic good comedy with a good development. So I got nothing bad to say about that movie. Also, I was watching Cowboy Bebop for nostalgia. I was playing Halo Infinite with somebody.
Yeah, I wonder who that person is.
But it's funny to play Halo with Robert because Robert keeps on delaying the missions to wait for the Marines that can't keep up with the Spartans. So we don't ride vehicles because we cannot fit them all in the car. and basically you can see two Spartans waiting up on a little platoon of infantry so they can catch up with us, and then we keep on running, and then we wait, and we run, and we wait.
I gotta say,
in the hair.
You know,
it's kind of cute, you know, because Robert becomes emotionally attached to these NPCs, and then we go into a battle with 4, and we end up with 1 because they all got killed with 1 bad luck.
Robert becomes emotionally attached to an aluminium can after he finishes drinking. I can't throw you away. I'm sorry. I'll recycle you. Have a good life. I'll see you later.
Think about it. When we get a fob, we can fill the fob in with Marines. Isn't that
cool? But it's a fun time. It's a fun time, man. I love watching the Marines die at least. So Robert feels conflicted. Like, oh, they die. We only have 1 or 2 now. And then I tell him like
he's meat shields.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the funny thing. Sometimes I just go on the front and start shooting shit out while they're catching up. but it's fun because then I get to say, hey, at least we can fit them all in the car now.
So chumpy you could carve it.
and also, last but not least, which is a pretty cool game. I think it needed more work, but all right. Gotham Knights. It's a pretty cool sequel to after Batman's death. The Gotham Knights trying to keep his legacy and working together. It's a fun game. I'm playing it for the story, so I'm very story driven when I am playing video games. So I would definitely suggest it, and I like that you can play online with others too. That's pretty good, guys, too. And that's all I've been watching. What have you been watching, Ray?
Well, before I tell you what I've been watching, I just want to wish you a happy birthday for this week, Chaos. I hope you had a good time.
Happy birthday to you. Back at you, man.
That's right. Exactly. Strangely enough, Chaos was born on the 9th of August, and I was born on the 10th of August. Not the same year, obviously. But because of the rotation of good old Mother Earth and the time zones, we actually were celebrating at the same time because it's the 10th in Australia and it's still the 9th in in Florida. So
Yeah.
you
Ray
go.
Ray is a person that doesn't let go, so he lives in the past.
No, I live in the future.
Oh, that's true. I am the person.
You
You're
are
in the past.
It's not you. It's me.
Yeah, it was a very birthday filled week. So what have I been watching? A bit of Astro Lost in Space with my son. Not bad actually. It's got a good bit of drama happening for a sort of a high school sci-fi sort of lost in space kind of situation. On Radio Chaos, we watched Rusty Angel and Tear Sign, which are the OVAs for Battle Angel Alita, which were made in the 90s. So that was a good old Wayback Machine kind of moment.
And if you want to know how to turn it up a notch with Alita, just give her some WD-40.
Oh, is that how you do it? My wife has no emotion because, oh my God, it's an awesome show. Really enjoyed
Some
that.
more WD-40.
Did we miss Chaos in the last episode or what?
Is this product placement? Is he like getting paid for this?
We gotta find out. You getting the
I mean, he said it 3 times in a row. Come on. He's summoning WD-40.
I'm definitely going to clip this.
So anyway, My Wife Had No Emotion was an excellent episode. They now have a little robot kid, which is amusing. I'm sure that's going to complicate things. And I thought I'd mention my homebrew RPG called OP, Now You're So You're Dead, Now What? Which is basically my attempt to show my role-playing buddies that yes, you can play ridiculously overpowered characters and still have a good game, because everybody gets like the power levels start to get a bit high and people go, oh no, I can't run this anymore. And I'm like, but why? So I had to show them that you can have ridiculously powerful characters from the get-go and still have an awesome game. And it's been really good. I mean, we don't get to get together very often, but it's basically isekai, overpowered, vaguely. Well, it is fantasy-esque, but I threw some space aliens in just because. And one of the characters has ended up in spirit form on the moon, one of the 3 moons, actually, of the planet. So it is now at least sci-fi adjacent. So I thought I'd mention that.
I actually read the booklet where you have like the rules and everything, so you can pick your character. You should write a book about it, man. That sounds like a badass idea for a book. I will read it.
It feels original. I don't think I've seen anything like it before. But I basically rip off every anime I'm watching. Like completely rip off. If an anime otaku like me was to play this particular game, and I mean I'm coming up with a story as I go, they would recognize Arafuru Weather, Another World with My Smartphone. Just list them off. Just all of these different animes that I've pinched stuff from. So, you know, the storyline is completely and utterly unoriginal, but the game is original. So.
If you wouldn't have told on yourself, they probably would have liked it, not knowing why.
Possibly. I mean, like us guys, we analyze the crap out of everything and recognize stuff where it comes from, but other people might be just like, oh yeah, this is cool. So
yeah, I like it. I don't know what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I wonder.
Pick an anime, any anime. You find a bit of anything. So that's it for me this week.
Awesome.
You should have waited a little bit longer so the silent would have been more extended. It would have made it better.
So are you trying to tell me that this is a good segue to go to the next segment?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I get to press the right button this time?
Moving on.
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
And as you know, we have a little trend going, a movement that our dear Robert started called This is a Sci-Fi, which is basically a space where all sci-fi IPs meet together and we can share those things that we love so much. I want to make a special mention to some collaborators and people that we love listening to, not wanted to, that actually exploit the benefits of that. And it's awesome because we get to see what they do. We have first Madison on the air, which we all love here listening to. She's awesome radio drama. You should go and check her out. James Allocca, awesome writer too. I actually we still need to get to read your books, but I would definitely suggest it. I've read synopsis of them. They sound like very interesting,
Yes. Yeah.
original sci-fis. So I mean, what's there to lose, you know? Also, very dear friend of ours. We collaborated sometimes with them, and we've been in the show. They've been with us in here. The podcast that wouldn't die, and I'm glad that they done because we love listening to them every time. And last but not least, Gary B. Creator, Gary Bloom, another writer, also with awesome material that
Yeah.
you should go and check out right now.
We had him on a show a couple of times, and we can't wait to have him again. But yeah, these accounts here have been posting a lot. They have been a lot more active lately on this is sci-fi hashtag. All except for our dear friend Kevin. He's like his number one. He's the OG.
The MVP.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also I wanted to remember you that we do have uh, a network that has been created where if you're a podcast or sci-fi creator of any kind, we invite you to go and check it out and join in. It's kind of like an effort to create a community. So eventually it would evolve into something bigger. Right now it's in its infancy, but you can go and check it out at sci-fi. This is sci-fi.net. If you're looking at our YouTube video right now, which you should, you can scan the QR code right here and go and check it out for sure. And if you would like, also, you can drop us a line on or a voice message in our phone, and our operators are on standby for you. That number is 305 563 6334. I repeat, 305 563 6334. But wait, there's more. We
Side
are
notes?
side notes.
Side notes?
No, I just had to say that. I don't know. It was like a reflex.
Oh,
We should get a 1-800 number for that. And all I want to do is to let you know, guys, this is the way that I use usually to find other people to pick up fights with about topics. Sometimes I just contradict them because what the heck, even if I agree with them. But no jokes aside, it's a fun place where you can just use a hashtag. This is sci-fi, accompanied by anything that you like, and I promise you, you're gonna find a good conversation for sure and great content. So I definitely suggest you to go and use it. And this is gonna be. You guys had any experience this week with the "This is Sci-Fi" hashtag?
The only thing that I'd like to add is the increase in engagement for some of these accounts that we mentioned. I just really want to say a lot of thanks to those users that are engaging a lot more. I mean, they have been engaging before with a hashtag. Definitely have been engaging with the account, but with the hashtag itself, they have. I really appreciate that, especially for the authors, because you
Yes.
know, like we said, the whole idea for the "This is Sci-Fi" hashtag is to share sci-fi. And what better than an author who's actually creating sci-fi? So I really, really, really appreciate the engagement for all the new authors that are engaging with the hashtag.
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you by firsthand that you can make wonderful friendships, and you don't know what you might be part of. We have a big couple of writers in here too, actually, in this podcast. But I mean, it's all about a community effort at the end of the day, and you are the ones that make this possible. So keep up the vibe up.
Awesome. Okay, so guess we're ready for the next segment.
And for the shout outs, I'm going to start with the social media where I'm most active. I'm always posting useless crap over there, so you can go and check it out too. And Sci-Fi Remnant and Instagram, go and check them out for sure. They are awesome. But I'm gonna make a special shout out to Light Cameras Rant, and that is Light.Cameras Rant. Thank you for the engagement on our account, for tagging us and sharing the love. We appreciate it. Also, a special thank you to SD Anxious. Don't be so anxious. Things are gonna be okay. In our Discord, we got a whole crew of new members, and I wanted to give them a special welcome. We got the physicsdude. We got Mary, Coffee. I hope you know I love you. I want to drink a little bit. Nerd. Now we're cool, man. And Trixx, but it's not just for kids. Also, in our regulars in Discord, we got JJ Hunsecker, always keeping the party up, and truetankerjamescvercko. Thank you guys for always keeping the party up. Applause for you guys.
Party.
In X, Twitterverse, we got Master Jedi D'Antonio. We got Film Rage. Go and check him out. We got Front Facelock podcast. Go and check him out. And the Real Scuttlebutt podcast. Ro, love you, brother. And not last but not least, from Twitter, we got In Film We Trust podcast. We do trust in them. They're cool as hell too. Go and check them all out. If you want to find them, we'll have all the information also in the description of the episode, so you can find their tags. In YouTube, we got new subs, and I wanted to give them a special welcome. We got Anneli's Seppänen, and we got DavieLF. And I also wanted to remind you now that we're talking about YouTube, that if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that like, share, and do subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss our future episodes. And that's all for these shoutouts. I'm on fire.
Our canned audience is impressed.
Yeah, I'm telling you, live audience. You know,
It sounds like somebody put the applause little thing.
Okay, so I guess that's our cue to go for our next segment, which is
the Alita Army News.
Shocking. Well, my hedonistic approach to life reared its ugly head this week, and Radio Chaos episode 226 was Max Tack's birthday Battle Angel Alita OVA watch party. So we decided to celebrate my birthday on the stream and watch the OVAs from '93. It was good. I think it was the British dub, so it was a little bit different to what I was used to listening to. It's weird that there was a British dub and a US dub, but you know, this was back in the day, so different distribution companies did their own dubs in different parts of the world. It wasn't global as it is these days. So yeah, it was good fun. I'd forgotten a few things, so it reminded me of a few things that I'd forgotten, and it was very much 90s anime.
You did not forget that Ugo is a piece of crap, right?
Lots of yelling. Ah! So yeah, we had a great time. So that was episode 226 of Radio Chaos. That's about all that's happened this week.
awesome. Okay, so I feel like every other show, that we're not ready for this. If you're not familiar, by looking at the title of this episode, we are discussing the anime called Kaiju number 8.
And what an anime it is.
Episode 1 and episode 2.
It's a new sensation of anime.
So
if you haven't watched it, go and watch it, because we're spoiling the shit out of this. Go and watch it. It is awesome.
Just pause it right now. Come back. We'll be waiting.
Just make sure you have about 4 or 5 hours, okay? Because you will not be able to put it down.
Yes. And I'm fine if you get to us next week. Because that's what happened to me.
Hey, don't send people away from the podcast now.
They'll come back.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Pause it, but don't close the tab, okay?
In listeners we trust.
I'm kind of glad that we got to this, because, you know, our audience were probably wondering, during this segment, what have you watched that is sci-fi related? You probably noticed that in many episodes, we have mentioned Kaiju number 8. And
mentioned the manga as well, because we've all read that as well.
Exactly. And not only that, but it's like kind of like the whole deal with like My Wife Has No Emotion, where we are all watching the same thing. So we all mentioned the same anime on our, you know, a turn on that segment.
It's so beautiful. It's synergy.
Yes. So now you guys are going to get to know why we are watching and for some of us reading Kaiju number 8. Now, before we get into it, do we have something called the plot?
Yes, we do. But just before we do the plot, for those who don't know Japanese particularly well, kaiju means monster. So it's basically monster number 8. Now, anybody who has watched and appreciated any Godzilla movies will get a kick out of this show. It's basically, it's sort of a Japanese version of Pacific Rim.
Yes.
Except they don't have giant robots to fight the kaiju. They have other
Pacific
equipment.
Rim Japanese too.
Yes. They have other weaponry created from kaiju. So basically, they've killed kaiju and researched their bodies and powers and used those to create weapons systems to fight them, which is usually like suits and stuff like that they wear, and certain other, you know, handheld weaponry that they use to fight them. And it's that their skill in releasing combat power from these kaiju material suits and weapons that enables them to fight back, because otherwise humanity would be screwed. And this has been going on for hundreds of years. In this version of Earth, kaiju have been attacking humanity since, you know, hundreds of years ago. So it's just part of life. But saying that it's part of life, the kaiju keep evolving. So things keep changing. And things are really changing at this point because for the first time ever that we know of, a kaiju has infested a human, and that human has taken on the powers of a kaiju. So you have what's called a fortitude level, which is how strong the kaiju is. The first kaiju that we see is this giant lizardy looking thing, which when I say giant, it's like 60 meters long, which is what, 60 yards long, so 120 feet.
And it looks like a pissed off iguana.
And how many washing machines? We all
washing machines? Sorry, I'm not very good at converting to washing machines, but rather a few.
A few hundreds.
Probably about 150 washing machines long. So that's just the spitball conversion. Don't quote me on that. But we're basically, if you could imagine a giant pissed off iguana walking down the street, smashing into buildings and wrecking the joint. Now, because the people of Japan are used to this, they get alerts when these things show up, and they all evacuate to shelters. So the people are used to like grabbing grabbing a run bag or a flea bag, which they have near the door. Which, you know, if you have small kids, you'd have, you know, all of the stuff you need to keep your kid going in that bag or another bag, and then you just run for the shelter. You don't hang around. You don't try and protect any of your stuff. You just get the GTFO basically. And then this group called the Anti-Kaiju Defense Force comes in and deals with the sucker. Now, the first kaiju that we see is Fortitude 2.6. Now, the Fortitude system is a bit like the Richter scale in that Fortitude 1 to Fortitude 2 is a factor of 10.
Can I translate it for Floridians?
Yeah, sure.
Hurricane levels.
Yeah. So basically, it's like this. it goes ballistic. So I think the maximum that they believe the scale goes up to is a 10, right?
Do you know that there's 2,350 washing machines in 1 mile?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you know.
Wow.
I'm telling you,
there's a number I'll immediately forget. So basically, you've got a world much like our own, except you have these giant monsters rocking up every now and again and laying waste. But the population is ready to flee at a moment's notice to shelters, and you have this anti-kaiju defense force armed with weapons and suits created from kaiju to fight. And then once they're killed, then the defense force gets all of the kudos, but then the cleanup crews have to come in, and they're privately owned companies, and they've got to cut down the kaijus and haul them all away, all the bits. So you've got this giant carcass you've got to cut up, and certain bits are sequestered by pseudo-government agencies which use them to create more weapons and armor for the anti-kaiju defense force. So it's an arms race. Now, of course, the first monster we see is 2.6, and it was pretty bad. I mean, sure, they managed to take it down pretty quickly, but when we meet kaiju number 8, which is the main focus of the story, obviously, because that's what's named after, the fortitude is 9.2. Think about that for a moment. You've got 2.6, and it's knocking buildings down, and then it's, what did I say, 150 washing machines long. Yep. And then you've got kaiju number 8, which is human-sized, and is fortitude 9.2, which is orders and orders and orders of magnitude more powerful.
Would you say that's like equivalent to or higher than category 5 hurricane?
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Wow.
Yes, I mean, one punch can create blood rain.
Yes.
I mean, I will venture to say that even the first one, which is 2.5, is harder than a hurricane. It blasts through buildings like it's butter.
Yeah.
So imagine 9. We're talking about a volcano that could destroy half of the earth in one eruption.
Well, I mean, we didn't get to the episodes, but there was some pretty serious shit going on later on.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're into like the MonsterVerse, this anime is for you. And there's a lot of science fiction in it.
Yes.
A little bit of science fantasy, but you just got to live with that because they're monsters from God knows where. They just haul themselves up onto land and start laying waste, or flying and start laying waste. And you're basically you're not going to be able to put this down. It's really well told. It's got great comedy moments to take some of the drama away, because it's got a lot of drama as well. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to put this down if you like the MonsterVerse or Godzilla movies. It is completely up your alley. And I'm not huge on like MonsterVerse, but this show was just incredible.
I would have to add early on in this show, and to what you just said, right? If you are a Godzilla fan, if you are a Kaiju fan, which is, in my opinion, a subgenre right now, Kaiju films are a thing. If you are,
And they were big too on 80s and 90s.
well, you know,
Is that a pun?
Godzilla
big?
is a Kaiju film.
Mhm.
Um,
From the beginning of time, yeah.
exactly. Actually, Godzilla is the OG Kaiju film.
I don't know how he got to keep on coming and keep on coming and keep on coming. That dude, bro.
He's a kaiju, he was a kaiju. He's kaiju number 10. Anyways, Pacific Rim, stuff like that. If you are into
King Kong.
Yeah, King Kong. If you're into kaiju films, you have to watch this, because this is all kaiju. I mean, kaiju is in the name.
Yeah.
And you know, I had to bring a comment that I know you guys will remember when you guys introduced this show to me. The first time that I watched this, I said, and I did not say it in the show. This was on pre-show and Discord. By the way, if you want to be privy to these conversations, you want to join our Discord. But I said, I really like the perspective on the show, because whenever you watch a kaiju film, and if you watch kaiju films, you know what I'm talking about. This is all done from a specific perspective. You are, either a government organization, they're trying to save the city, or a secret organization is trying to research this, and whatever they might be. But in the essence of Star Trek, I don't know if you remember when I said, I really love Lower Decks because it shows you the little guy. It shows you that guy that cleans the floor. It shows you that guy that does the toilets.
That goes in Dookie Duty.
This one does that for kaiju films. And this is what I love it, because it actually shows you what happens after they kill the monster. At the end of the Godzilla movie, when that big, monster is in the city dead, what happens? We never get to see that. And this is what I love about this film, is we get to see that crew that is in charge of cleaning up, getting that monster out of the way. I know that's not the main, after you watch the show, they kind of move away from that. But even though they show this at the beginning, I really, really appreciate it, because we get to see that perspective that I never got to see before. It's really, really awesome. And if you are like me, if you like kaiju films, if you like kaiju genre, let's call it that, you really are going to appreciate this, because this is a perspective that we never get to see in any other kaiju film.
Would you call it kaiju slice of life?
Slice of life / comedy.
It has some.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a slice of life and a slashes of life.
Slices of life. Fair enough. I won't argue.
Sorry, I just okay. That for all the listeners who are actually kaiju fans, this is a must.
Oh, look, context is king. So I think it was well said. But I'll give you the plot. It's only one paragraph, because this is only the first 2 episodes that we're covering. So much shit happens. I mean, you think that some of the other stuff that we've covered seems epic, but this show is really epic. Like, there's so much that happens in the 12 episodes of the first season. But I've read up to, I think it's chapter 110 in the manga. And oh my God, just trajectory. Where no stops. Just keeps going up. So it's really enjoyable. The pacing is fantastic. But anyway, the plot for these 2 episodes, it's the opening 2 episodes. We're getting to know the characters and the situation. So after their town is destroyed by kaiju, childhood friends Kafka Hibino and Mina Ashiro both vow to become members of Defense Force and fight kaiju together. Fast forward a certain number of years, Mina, now 27, has since become the captain of the Defense Force's 3rd Division, while Kafka, now 32, has failed the examination numerous times and works as a member of the cleanup crew that disposes of kaiju remains after battle. Kafka meets a young part-time worker in the company, Reno Ichikawa, an aspiring Defense Force member who reignites his desire to become part of the Defense Force. However, a parasitic creature enters Kafka's body through his mouth, and he gains the ability to turn into a kaiju. After escape, that's the one. After escaping the Defense Force, Kafka is given a code name Kaiju number 8 and decides to apply while keeping his kaiju form a secret. And that's basically a very short version of the first 2 episodes.
Dun, dun, dun.
So basically we have a guy who's washed up numerous times while the girl who he made the promise with has gone on to become like the poster girl for the Defense Force in Western Tokyo.
It reminds me. Remember that movie, Die Repeat? I forgot the full name.
Live at the Edge of Tomorrow.
The Edge of Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
That poster.
Live, Die, Repeat. Yes, the Angel of Death. That's what they call her.
That's exactly what it reminds me of. In the show.
Bad. He does. Actually, the poster that they show when they pass by, it looks almost the same.
Yeah, they were probably channeling it. That synopsis is very dry. It doesn't really convey much of the emotion in this show. There's a lot of emotion. It also doesn't mention that Mina's cat was killed, along with their houses were destroyed, their school was destroyed by this kaiju attack, and they basically said, "Well, we're gonna get our revenge and fuck shit up." So they both tried.
Not just a cat; it's a calico cat.
It's a cat. Oh, that makes it much.
This is important data if you guys don't understand because they are cat persons.
Calico. It is a calico.
But through the judicious use of really good script writing and flashbacks and all these sorts of things, you get a really good feel that these 2 kids had their hearts set on getting some revenge on the kaiju and defending Japan. And one of them achieved that, and the other one ended up being part of the cleanup crew. Not to say that the cleanup crew don't do an important job. If you leave giant carcasses lying around in the streets, it's going to stink. The place is going to be disgusting. So, they need to be dealt with. And it's, the unsung heroes. And this is the slice of life part. This is what Robert was talking about with finding out what happens after the battle and, trying to return the place to normal.
I want to add to that. It's a conversation that me and Gio had today when we were watching the watch party. By the way, it was on Discord, so you're missing out if you're not. It sucks, right? I see it. I see the job is hard. The cleanup crew, they have an important, if not one of the most important jobs, because they help get the city back to normal. And in the beginning, and straight up, episode 1, we see how they celebrate the Defense Force through, they're parading through the city. People are gathered. The news articles are like talking and reporting how they saved the city. Yet we see Kafka walking behind the crowd as a news member, a news crew passes by and completely ignores Kafka. And that, I think it kind of hit home because, they both.
It wasn't even completely ignored. It's just like, get out of my way. Shoves him out of the way.
Exactly. And they both have an important role in here. And you could see it. But it's like they're non-important. It's kind of like one of those jobs that no one sees. It just is. Like you get in your car and you drive around and you don't realize that you could do that because the cleanup crew was able to clean up that monster. So I just had to mention that because there was a conversation that me and Gio were having when we when we're doing the watch party, and it sucks.
Watching the
It
watch party
watching the watch party. It
with
is
our eyes.
it really sucks. You know. So I don't know. What is your thought on that? I mean, it just the reason why I want to get your perspective is because my perspective is everybody knows what my perspective is. So
I want a thermal chainsaw. That's what I want. They look awesome.
Screw the people dying. I want a cool gun.
I want to see a thermal chainsaw in a zombie game. That'd be awesome.
You've been playing too much Warhammer 40K on your VR. Haven't you?
I haven't for a while, actually. I should get back to that. I actually have The Walking Dead in VR, the game, so I'll have to have that go with that.
Saints Row? Is it called? The Walking Dead game?
Saints and Sinners.
Saints and Sinners. I have it too, bro. Can it be played online?
Don't know. I have to check. But we've got to get together and play Bridge Crew.
If it works.
Yes.
If it works.
We'll make it work. We'll try 4, 5, 6 times just to get some
7, 8, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you mean. Like, the people who slave away, in a horrible situation, trying to turn the city back to normal, are completely ignored because they're not the high profile darlings of the people. Like, they're saving the people as much as the defense force because the people wouldn't ever be able to move back into their neighborhoods if there was, a big rotting carcass lying there.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, I mean, I envision when I was thinking through this, I envision what if this crew never went out to that location and clean up that carcass? What happens? And it's horrible.
Those are the things that happens on the background that nobody thinks of or cares to, but they still are highly important. And it shows you that everything works like a giant machine, and every little piece of it, every little gear is important. I think that it has a very deep-rooted message that when we work cohesively together, we can achieve anything, but we have to do it together. We cannot work spread out like cockroaches with no head. We can't. It's dysfunctional. And it shows a sad kind of nuance, socially speaking, about how the face of the problem of the rescue team or whatever, the special force, are the only ones glorified. And I haven't seen this only in Kaiju. Like, I was watching The Boys the other day, not Robert approved, but basically it's a bunch of psycho superheroes, and they get glorified too, even though they're not even good. The Boys is even worse. But I've seen it across many different IPs where sometimes only one side of the operation gets all the credit when credit is due in many other places, and where there are other very important duties that are being taken care of, not by the top dogs.
Yeah.
And I think that's why when you see a superhero or an organizational group that passes on the merit to the other ones that work with them, and they are working on a humble manner, it even steals away people's heart harder.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Especially if they have to do intestine duty.
Yeah.
What a load of shit.
When I watch that, it just reminds me of baby poop.
That's a big baby.
It just stinks thinking about it.
Yeah, but imagine if you had several hundred tons of the stuff.
Yeah. I would have died probably.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because this is something that I thought about. Have you imagined what would happen, and you can give me your personal opinions on this, if the cleanup crew never went out and cleaned? Like, let's look at episode 1, that huge monster that was dead in the city. The defense force came in, killed it, saved the people, and the cleanup crew never went out. What happens to that city? Let's say 3 months into the future.
You want me to tell you? You remember the Black Plague? Now multiply that times 1,000.
The corpse flies would be so solid you couldn't see the sun.
No, and I mean all the pathogens and bacteria festering in there. It will create all sorts of sicknesses. It could actually exterminate us or end up creating some kind of mutant humans out of the mutations or trying to evolve to survive all the bacteria and all the crap that comes out of dead bodies.
Well, you can't rebuild if there's a carcass there, and you wouldn't want to go near it because it would stink so bad and be contagious for all sorts of things. And of course, fungal spores would be everywhere because there'd be a huge amount of fungus growing on the thing because there's fungal spores everywhere. So yeah, it would be basically a quarantine area, and people could never go home. And the more kaiju you kill and leave lying around the place, the less of the city you've got to live in.
And I mean, you're saying quarantine area if it gets contained. You know, it's an ugly picture. It's a very ugly picture.
When bodies start rotting, a lot of what they call corpse juice comes out, fluids flowing out as the cells are lysed, and you know, it's all mixed with bacteria. And
something is wrong with me. You say corpse juice and my mouth watered.
Yep, he's too far gone, Robert. Chaos is too far gone. But anyway, it would be flowing down the streets. The drains would be full of the stuff. It'd be horrific, and it would spread.
It will become a chemical warfare, I think.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I don't think that we could outlive it. I definitely don't think so.
No. The reason why I want to point out that perspective is because this is something that the inhabitants of this city they actually take for granted.
Yeah.
You know, just looking at that, and it's very easy to take stuff like that for granted because I guess us as humans, everything is okay when everything is okay.
Yes. I've come to learn by observing people around me across the years and myself that we don't often sit down and ponder and try to feed the shoe of somebody else until it happens to us directly or somebody directly involved to us. We don't tend to care or think about problems that affects other people's lives. So we're not a very conscientious kind of race, thinking that we are conscious for that matter, you know? And when you think about it, the cleaning crew are the real heroes, because if you only have the special force killing around, they're just making shit worse than if the kaiju just come, kills, and goes.
Yeah, people don't realize that when things are okay, a lot of people are involved for that to happen. You know, I don't know if I get my point across, but there's a lot more people to be thankful for when things are okay.
Just put it this way. Imagine what will happen in your house if nobody ever flushed the toilet and you had to keep going.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go to another house.
I've had the water shut off for a few days because of, you know, pipe breakages in the street and stuff like that. And yeah, it's not good. It's really not good.
Well, I mean, I grew up using buckets for that matter, but I've come to a latrine. It is not a fun place to be.
Yeah.
If you don't know what a latrine is, it's a very archaic toilet.
Oh, you can Google it.
Yeah.
You might not want to, but you can.
Yeah, you can, yeah. So yeah, I just had to point that out because I'm just looking at this and I'm just shaking my head. It's like, you know, these people are being treated as a nuisance. Like get out of
not
way.
even. They're being ignored completely. Completely
And-
ignored.
Yeah. Can we? I don't know if someone has anything more to add, but I was going to move on to the first question.
Yeah, sure.
The first question that we normally ask at the show, if you're new to the show, is what was your, how old were you when you watched this for the first time, and what was your first impression? This show is from 2024, so it's very new. Although I was surprised that story started in 2022. I guess I would have known that if I would have read the manga, but I only watched the anime. I guess I could go first since I'm kind of like halfway through it.
Yeah,
You guys introduced me to this show, so I guess I am, compared to you guys, I'm the newbie here. One of the things that I have to say is this is one of the few shows, and I'm going to say show, not specifically anime, although it is an anime, but just show that I could not put down. A lot of reasons, a lot of things facilitated this for happening. The fact that animes are typically 22 minutes, around 22, 25 minutes long, facilitated the part that I was just couldn't take it down.
One thing led to another, and oops, next episode. And
Next
here I am 3 hours later.
Also, the way that the story was written, by the end of one episode, you had to know what happened next. You can't just stop it there. This is, and I'm going to put a warning because it happened to me. If you want to watch this and you want to control how much you watch of this,
You fail.
I recommend you pause the episode halfway through.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the
At the
episode.
end. Nope.
I did that. Yes, I had to watch the entire thing all the way till the end, and nonstop. And when it ended, I was mad because I wanted more. I want to know what happened. More. So I had to actually go and buy the manga. I am gonna mention here, I am all the way up to manga number 110, only because the same thing happened to me reading the manga. You read the manga, take me 5 minutes to read the whole thing, and I was pissed off because I wanted more, and there was no more. I had to wait for next week. So what I did was I stopped reading it, and I'm letting it catch up. I think we're up to like 113 right now.
Yeah.
So I
Thanks to Ray, I'm doing that with like 15 series now. And looking for light novels, a guy that doesn't like reading.
So I have about 15 minutes worth of reading material on my manga right now for the 3 episodes. Yeah, I'm letting it pile up. I can't go through that again. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this is the type of show this is. It's well written in a way that you have to know what happened next, and I could not put it down. This is a new show. I was really surprised. It was 2022. I wish I would have read the manga first. But in another flip the coin here, maybe not, because at least now we have a lot more material to read. But I just had to mention that out as a warning, because this is that type of show. It's if it was like an hour episode, it makes it easier because before it's 3 o'clock in the morning. But this is about around 25 minutes long. Yeah, you're gonna put the next episode, and before you know it, you'll finish the whole thing in a day. So be warned. So that is my first impression. I guess who wants to go next?
Me. So I heard about this before it aired, so late last year, and just looking at the key visuals and the posters that kept popping up on Crunchyroll, the character design looked awesome. They've got these fantastical suits that they wear that are made from kaiju, and they've got like modern firearms, but they're modified so that they can handle energy from kaijus. So the bullets have different effects. They can either be normal damage or ice or freeze damage and things like this. So they've got options when they're fighting the kaiju. And also based on their ability to draw out combat power from the suits, they can go into what's called maximal output mode, where they can output their maximum combat power from the suit and become superhuman. And then they can fight kaiju one-on-one, and the weapons are the same. When they increase to their maximal combat power, the weapon damage goes up. So they can fight the really big ones one-on-one. And it's a really interesting dynamic because they can't do this for very long. And, you know, they've got to pick and choose their time to go all out. So it really has a good dynamic. It really works well. And I was just really impressed with the key visuals. And this was the anime that Crunchyroll chose to have a premiere for. So it would premiere, I think it was Sunday night at midnight my time. Luckily, I don't work on Mondays. So I would, you know, stay up, and the premiere was in Japanese, obviously was in English subtitles. But 30 minutes after the premiere finished, the English dub would drop, which is almost unheard of. The English dub would show up straight away. It was disappointing that the last 2 episodes took a couple of weeks for the dub to come along. I guess they had some production delays, but week to week, just getting in there on the English dub, you know, it was at 1 a.m. my time, but I was staying up because I gotta watch this thing. And the voice acting is amazing. The reason that the show works is because the main character, Kafka Hibino, he's like that down on your luck hero. He's the guy that just can't get it to work, but it doesn't stop him from being super supportive and always looking out for everybody. And even before he becomes a kaiju, he does his absolute best. And you'll see this in episode 1. He does his absolute best to save this guy who just started working with him. He says, run. They're at the work site late, and they're just about to leave, and the sun's going down. And a kaiju called a Yuju, which is basically a small version that runs around with the bigger ones, and you tend to get a lot more of them, shows up and tries to kill them. It just wants to eat them. And Kafka tells Ichikawa to run. He says, run. He says, I can't leave you, sir. And he goes, if we both stay, we both die. You get out and report this, and I'll distract it. So he basically says, I'll risk my life and probably die, but you'll survive because you want to become a Defense Force officer. And, you know, I'm a wash-up. So, you know, you're more valuable to the defense of Japan than I am. You go. So Ichikawa goes, and this thing starts chasing down Kafka. And during that sequence, we get the flashbacks to him and Mina when they're in elementary school and their town's been trashed by the kaiju, and they decide that they're both going to go into the Defense Force to see who's the cooler Defense Force soldier. And she makes it, and he doesn't. So, you know, he's like absolute down on his luck hero. And why I call him a hero is because, and they mention it time and again, that the guy gets put on intestine duty and he hates it. Everybody hates it. It makes you want to vomit and you can't eat for days. But he still gets in there and does his absolute best all the time.
Well, his boss said it. the reason why he gets interesting duty is because he does a good job. He actually said it in the episode.
He gets
Exactly.
shit done.
Yeah, pretty much, literally.
Yeah, he does.
I never thought I could use that line so properly.
But the character of Kafka Hibino is one of those characters that you just can't help but love. He's a hero right down to the bone.
Yeah.
And you see it more and more as the series goes on, and he risks getting caught as a kaiju so that he can save more and more of his teammates. And in the end, he outs himself to save himself and half the city, to save all of them and half the city, and outs himself and gets taken into custody because he's a kaiju.
Yeah.
And he just, he is, like I said, a hero to the core, to the bone. And you can't help but like him. And both I've watched both sub and dub for this, and both voice actors did an amazing job of covering what I call the dynamic range of the character, in that the character has such a dynamic range of emotions. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's just always out there doing his best, even though as a Defense Force operative, he's a piece of dirt on your shoe. He's terrible at it. But he's there with his knowledge of kaiju from cutting them up, and he basically saves lives of his fellow operatives by giving them knowledge, and knowledge is power, and he gives them the power to succeed without losing anybody because of what he knows. And it's really good that the second in command, now I just got to work out what his name was again. It was, sorry?
No, Toshiro, but I'm not sure. I could be just.
Oh, damn it! Where is it? Where's the guy? The guy with the two short swords. Ah, there he is. Soshiro Hoshima.
Soshiro, yeah, Soshiro.
Soshiro Hoshina, who's another really interesting character.
Yes.
He basically passes him as a joke, because he says, we have a really serious job. We need a bit of humor. Let's pass the old guy. That was his reason to let him in as a cadet. So, it's just, it's just bonkers. But Kafka Hibino, the character, has got such a wide dynamic range of emotions, and he goes through so much, and he has such a big heart, and he puts in so much effort. You can't help but like him. He's sort of like the best of us, in that, he's the sort of person, not skills or ability wise, but heart and care wise, that everybody should aspire to be. And that's one of the things that makes this show so great. It's not just that it's well written, but the characters have got real depth to them, and you really care about them. I'm sure Robert, being Captain Happy Endings, would have Admiral Happy Endings, would have really felt pangs for this guy and what he was going through.
I mean, come on, you're talking about somebody that gets attached to NPCs.
Yeah. It's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's going to happen. But I mean, this show, from beginning to end, the animation, the voice acting, the action, the emotion, and the soundtrack. The soundtrack is freaking awesome.
Oh my God! Can we talk about One Republic?
Yeah.
And this is a conversation that I had with Gio on our watch party. The song "Nobody" by One Republic is the one played at the outro of every.
Nobody like you the way I do.
Yeah.
Na, 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 for you.
But I want to talk about the fact that the beginning song is done by a Japanese band, but the music throughout the entire show, from the from the beginning to the end, in the middle, they all have the same vibe, and it's that it was done intentionally, but it is so cool. And I guess the word that I was using for the music, obviously I can't play it on the show because we'll get copyrighted. But look it up on YouTube. There's tons and tons of results if you look for Kaiju number 8 intro song, but the songs throughout the entire episode. And the word that I use for that is fire. It's just absolute fire. You could listen to the soundtrack and just jam to it. It's really, really, really good music.
Nice.
But I just had to mention because we can use One Republic as a reference, and that's if you listen to One Republic, yeah. And of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're not, why not? You are watching a video there that is vibing. So yeah,
What is love, baby? Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
That is the energy. That is the energy of every song. I mean, you can go into Spotify and look for the playlist for the show, and it's
Hell yeah,
really good music. So, what do you guys thought? I mean, the music in this thing is so fired that if you are in TikTok, you've probably seen people making videos about the soundtrack to this show. That's how awesome this music is.
Yeah.
I actually just got a brilliant idea, man. I'm gonna start just going to record the crocodiles that we have in lakes and put in the Kaiju number 8 soundtracks behind it.
It would fit.
Real kaijus.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Robert. This whole production was just slick from beginning to end. There's comedy elements in this. There's funny moments, and sometimes they're overdone with some shows, but not this one. They were spot on. They had exactly the right feel. In the second episode, where they're running away from the Defense Force, and Kaiju number 8 / Kafka is busting to go to the loo, and Ichikawa looks down and goes, "So where's it going to come out? It's not like you've got anything dangling between your legs like an armor plate down there." He's going, "I don't know, man, but it's just going to come out. I can't stop it." And he starts urinating through the nipples of the Kaiju. And it's this slow motion run with the wig.
I think I died in that scene. Oh my freaking God.
It was cliche.
What did he do? He just falls on the floor. It's like, I can't continue with him.
Oh God, that was funny.
Oh my God, yes.
Dude, look, I'm eating a bird alive.
What is it that he said? Ichikawa said, "Oh, that's disgusting." And the way you revert back to like humanoid form is also disgusting.
Yeah. You even transform disgusting.
But you know that, and I don't know. We're probably skipping Gio at this point. First
Sorry,
question.
Gio.
What is your answer to the first question? I'm sure you're. How old were you, and what was your first impression of the show?
I don't remember. I'm not sure if Ray got me into it or I was just
it was my fault.
around. Probably
It was my fault.
Yeah, one more. Thank you.
I was like, guys, you're gonna watch this.
Yep.
Thank you, Ray.
One more that I'm waiting on now. But I mean, it got me hooked. You guys were mentioning about the strengths difference between kaijus, and the kick-ass thing about this one that keeps you hooked is that you think you know how strong is our main character, and every episode that passes, you just figure out that you were wrong.
Yeah,
and I mean, even till up to where we are right now, both manga and animated, we're still wrong. We still don't know the extent of the power that this thing has. You know,
I mean, just imagine this guy just literally just became a kaiju. He has no idea what the heck he's doing. He
didn't
has
go with a
no
manual.
trainer. He has no one who trained him on how to use what I mean, he can train with Hibino, but he doesn't know what he can do. He doesn't know his capabilities.
Nobody do.
No one does. So he's doing things and what he assumes, but I bet you anything, there's a lot more he doesn't know, and he has a lot more possibilities on what he can do.
Yep.
Well, later on in the anime, when he suddenly develops rocket engines in his legs and elbows, and I'm like, what?
Yep. Yep. It just
you know what it reminds me of? Now, Gio mightn't get this, and anybody under the age of 35 may not get this.
Please tell me
this reference. But there was a show in the 80s called The Greatest American Hero.
Oh no, not the same show I was thinking.
Well, do you remember that one? Where the guy got a super suit from an alien?
I had to
and he lost the manual.
Oh no, I haven't watched that.
Yeah, oh, it was so good. It was him and basically your I want to believe sort of government official who saw it happen, and they were keeping it on the down low. But he didn't know how to use the super suit, and he's like trying to fly. That's the one.
Oh yes, I think I kind of semi-remember. Yes. Oh wow, that's been a long time. Now, can I tell you what it reminds me of? And it is a show that I want to do in this show. It's called Guyver. That's what it reminded me of. And
it does remember that too.
For all of you out there who are not familiar with this, because it is a old show, and even the movies they made after, they're really old now, is basically a bioweapon, which
Guyver is more gruesome than it leads on to be.
Yes. Oh yes. It's a lot more. Even the transformations are supposed to be like, I mean, the movies now are kind of cheesy, but I envision that if they do a live action today, even the transformation will be really gruesome. But the show is really good. I really want to cover on this show. But it's a bioweapon. He discovers a bioweapon. He I guess it's installed in his body, kind of like the same way. Well, not necessarily the same way, because Kafka got voluntold instead.
He got a whole lot of choice, didn't he?
He had a different choice. No choice. But
Fuck you.
But it reminds me of that show, and I love that show. And it's like this story said to Guyver, "Hold my beer." That's what it did. It's kicking it up a notch.
Can never go wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was your, we've done it again, Gio. What was your first take?
It's all about the conversation, man. And I mean, I can't believe you guys. I bring such good points that you guys can't contain yourselves. It's totally fine. I mean, this show, it's so good that you don't have to be into anime. You don't have to be into kaijus. It'll keep you hooked. That's what I love so much about it. And you were saying about how you can resist, but like Kafka. And I think it's because whenever you're watching an IP, regardless of what you're watching, if the main character has redeemable factors into its character development, it is almost a perfect recipe for the public to fall in love with it. And Kafka, it's above and beyond on it. So much that even when the series starts and you get Ichikawa kind of looking down on him because he gave up on his dream, it's like it felt wrong, because it felt like Ichikawa was assuming that he just quit. And then you learn he didn't quit. He kept on trying repeatedly. So it is not like he didn't try. And then when he gets in, you learn he really doesn't have the physical attributes for it. And there's some other unfair things. Like I was telling Robert on the watch party about what's the name of Handel's girl?
Shinomiya.
Shinomiya starts like she arrives and she's already being ballsy and floundering with a big dick energy. And I'm like, yeah, like this chick has the suit already on, and she's not even in the special force. She's not even the special force suit. She got some custom made thing. And basically
we don't find out till later, but that's because her father is the commander of the Japanese Kaiju Defense Forces.
Yeah, but
he's the guy.
Exactly. What I was telling Robert is like that there tells me that anybody under her circumstances probably would have been just as good, because she had access to this opportunity and technology that nobody does, you know, which, I mean, she's pretty cool and everything. I love her character, but it makes me feel like she's not that special, you know?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm a Kikiju simp. I'm right up there.
That's fine, but think about it. What if you would have put any other character that is just good, but is under 20% under the same circumstance where they grew up with access to all that technology and all that training? You think that they're gonna turn out just as badass? Probably even more.
She didn't have a choice if you know her backstory.
If we place all the other characters onto that, they won't have a choice neither.
So what you're saying is placing the character on the exact same circumstances that Shinomiya had, where she lost her mom, where her dad was like just horrible to them because they wanted to succeed. Okay.
It didn't just lose her mother. Her mother was a commander in the Defense Force, and she was the only person who could link with Kaiju number 5.
How can I put this? I think that because I watch so much anime, it has numbed me. But anime tries to go way too hardcore on touching the nerve of melancholy, so sad story, whatever. And every other hero is an orphan, man. Every other hero. So I'm sorry, Jane is special and she's blonde.
I heard the same thing the other day. There was a guy talking about this manga, and he's like, "What? The guy's got both his parents and they live with him and they show up at home."
You see? What? Superman is an orphan. Bruce Wayne is an orphan. Spider-Man is very orphan. He's with the uncles and they kill him too. You know, like, should I continue? Like that's like 101 superhero recipe. Gotta be an orphan. Okay, yeah. And under extenuating situation, she got her daddy even though he was absent. But basically it leaves me wondering the full potential of others. But my point that I go to make is Kafka is he has nothing when it comes to that, and he keeps on trying. But when they accept him out of a joke, he shows you the power of knowledge and how all these powerful candidates were a waste of power because they were just wasting bullets on kaijus, not knowing how to kill them. So much that I would think if he wouldn't have been there, there would have been casualties, or at least it would have gone very ugly.
Yes.
You know, and I think that
people would have died. People would have
definitely. And I think that they don't. It's still even there because of how they look at him so laughable. They don't give him the merit that he really deserves. You know, like. They say to me, I think that they say it way too low key. That his knowledge was useful, you know. His knowledge was useful, so he should stay, you know. And I gotta laugh about the guy, but I think also that the vice captain, it's a very interesting character because he tries to low key play things, but he really is onto something, and I think that he has a lot to relate to Kafka. Because of all the big guys in his leagues, he's out of reach to the other ones. He cannot get there. But he's just as good when it comes to his mind and his ability. He cannot kill a kaiju that is numbered. He cannot fight it by himself. He doesn't have the power for it.
No, actually, you're wrong there. So Shiro was told over and over again that there's no hope for you, that the era of the swordsman is over, and you haven't got a hope of fighting these massive kaiju. And he doesn't. He's shit at fighting the big ones, but the super powerful human-sized ones, he's got a chance against.
Yes, definitely.
And that's why he was really important, because the game was changing and the small, powerful kaijus were showing up. And he was the one who was best positioned to take them on. So he came into his own later on in the story.
I feel I want to switch gears, and I want to talk about Mina.
Ooh.
The eternal resting bitching face.
This,
No emotions, begrudging.
you want to talk about Captain Kundere?
Kundere. Definitely hit the spot, man. You hit the nail on the head.
Here's the reason, right? And I think I like to say that, minus the 3 manga episodes that I haven't read, I kind of think that I have the full story at this point. So we can actually talk, on par, the 3 of us, because we're pretty much caught up with the story. So we know the backstory so far, right?
Yeah.
I had a problem with Mina from the beginning.
I still have it.
You still do? Okay. She, and again, we're going to spoil the crap out of this, and we're going beyond episode 1 and episode 2. So just warning you there.
Yeah.
La 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 la.
A couple of minutes. You'll be right.
So from the beginning, I guess the very first time that we saw Mina looked at Kafka after, adults, right, was after the scene where he got seriously hurt. I mean, this is a scene that takes Ichikawa and Kafka to the hospital. The beginning scene when they were, they pretty much save each other from a kaiju. She looks at him, and I can see it in her face. She has a slight disdain, and I don't know if you guys caught it up.
Oh, yeah.
She looks down on him.
And completely ignores.
She doesn't say it, but her behavior tells it.
She tells everybody, okay, take care of the injured.
She treats him like she doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this bothers me because they know each other from childhood. They're childhood friends. Not only that, but I think she owes Kafka her being in the defense force because of Kafka and how he motivated her and how he. Now, fast forward through the episodes, we know that she has an issue with the fact that Kafka said, we'll join together, we'll be together, everything's going to be okay because we are going to fight together. And she has an issue because he lied.
He lied because he couldn't make it, not that he didn't try.
That's covered in the after credits scene in episode 2, which is actually something we're covering, so we can talk about it. But she just goes, "You liar," when she's having a bath.
Now how full of yourself do you have to be to call somebody a liar because they didn't make the cut, even though they tried?
Here's my problem with that scene, right? Because there could be many things, but I got to be specific, right? This shows, I guess it shows humanity, right? I'm not going to blame her for the sake of blaming her. I'm blaming her for the sake of humanity, right? If that makes sense, we have a tendency to look at things from one perspective. This is the reason why I love perspectives and why I want to hear from our listeners so much on things they do like and things they don't like and why. I love that. because I get a window into someone else's mind. We have a tendency of looking at a situation from our perspective, not considering that there could be other factors outside the person's ability. And just because it's not within what is our perspective, what is our what we consider to be the norm in our own heads, that other person is wrong. She is assuming that because he didn't join, he's a liar. And they could be, I can go in many other things because they explain more things, going forward. And even if you read the
Yeah, he being a liar could entail so many things.
But have you ever considered what he has gone through? To the fact, like, he really, even from the very beginning on episode 1, which is still fast forward into his future, he is not happy because he wanted to be not, and he did not make it, like you said, Captain Chaos, not for lack of trying. And I honestly think he tried, and he overtly tried. He really tries. And before, so that's in part why we felt wrong when Ichikawa mentioned, he looked at him with disdain when he said that he quit. Because again, Ichikawa did not look at his perspective. And he felt wrong when he pointed him out. But
can I just point out, before you go on, can I just point out one thing? Guy's 32. The cap for trying to get in was 30. He didn't give up on his dream. He couldn't do it anymore.
Exactly.
And then they moved the cap up to 33 because they were running out of young people to join the Defense Force. And he had one more shot at it, and he took it. It's not like he wasn't trying anymore. It's that he couldn't.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I made you, and that's a really good point, because that shows you, even drives the point home that he did not make it, not for lack of trying. It's because they actually literally put a block on him. You can't do it anymore. Now, I mentioned Ichikawa just to prove a point. I forgive Ichikawa because he just met Kafka.
Yeah,
literally.
And he kind of turned around real quick when he saw the moment of the truth that he had it on him, even though the special force said otherwise.
Now,
so he had faith in Kafka.
Because he saw. I mean, he even mentioned, they raised the level, and I'm only mentioning this because you've seen, broken up over the fact that you couldn't make it anymore. So he realized, because he tried to get to know him, and he got to know him more in that one day than someone that should have known him from childhood. And that's why I cannot forgive Mina.
Yes, she want to redeem from this. She better go and weep at his feet. Okay. And here's the other thing. Even though he didn't make the cut for the special forces, what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, what he ended up doing is just as heroic and important, or more than what she does. She just do a lot of flashy things and mess. He makes sure that what she does doesn't end up killing. Like I said, what they do without the cleaning force would do more damage than a kaiju just coming, getting their way and getting out. Will be even worse.
Now,
you get me?
You have a really good point there, and I want to point this out, right? Mina, as long as the entire force can go into battle, but they have a safety. They have a weapon that was, somewhat came out of the Kaiju. In some cases, it came straight out of the Kaiju. They have a suit that was the results of research from a Kaiju, and in some cases, straight from the Kaiju. They have that safety net. We can agree with this.
Yeah.
What did Kafka did in the first episode? Without no suit.
Without a kaiju with a street sign.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. take away that they can do weapons from Kaiju. They are useless compared to Kafka. Kafka has a bigger chance of survival empty-handed against any of the special forces without their dear cute weapons that enhances them. You feel me? So the heroic great factors about special forces are not even theirs. Well, it makes me feel like they're a bunch of usurpers.
You saw when I mean, this is a pivotal scene. It shows Kafka's determination and the size of his heart and everything. Without a moment's hesitation, he goes, Ichikawa, you're more important to the defense of Japan than I am, because you can keep trying to get into the defense force and I can't. So run. You go and call this in and I'll distract the thing. I'll probably die, but at least you'll be able to become a defense force operative because I can't.
Yeah.
That he decides that in a split second.
Yes.
And just says, get out of here, go run. I'll distract it. He's like, I can't, sir. What about you? You run. You can still become a defense force operative. I can't. And he's prepared to die so that this guy who has the potential to become a defender of Japan can actually do it. And it just shows the size of his heart, that without a moment's hesitation, he'll lay down his life for somebody else who can do more than he can to defend Japan against the Kaiju. He is so anti-Kaiju that, he will die just to give one other person a chance to go on and defend Japan against the Kaiju. And then that all gets flipped on its head the moment he gets infested. And then he becomes the enemy. And he's like,
talk about irony.
Oh yeah. It's just bonkers. But that's such a pivotal scene. And the fact that Ichikawa comes back is also pivotal, in that he recognizes what the guy's prepared to do. And he says, no, I couldn't live with being a defense force operative if I didn't come back and help you.
Yep.
Yeah.
For some reason, it did connect to me to the classic Disney movie of Hercules. I don't know if you do remember it, but he's on a search to become a hero. And until he does that, he doesn't really get to enter to Olympus. And he wonders, what does it mean to be a hero? And he's all full of himself because he has super strength and everything. And when does he becomes a hero? When he puts others' lives before his. And he has not a single care for his own well-being. That's when he becomes a real hero. And that's what this whole story is bringing us to as well, is what it means to be a hero. And of all the heroes, the only real hero here is Ichikawa. And I mean, it is just through and through how the importance of his of everything about this character in the series.
Did you mean Hibino?
Kafka.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was making a comparison to Hercules, the story of Hercules. Like he cannot go into Olympus because he has to become a hero. And he brought the question what it means to be a hero, and all these guys are heroes and posters and shit. They're not really heroes, because of that thing. They need to humble themselves.
Well, that's the point that I was trying to make. They're going behind their safety net of like the Kaiju weapons and the Kaiju suits. And Kafka had none of that when he decided to fight a Kaiju.
And the most badass thing about this first episode is that you see that he is not afraid of the Kaiju, or there is fear on him, but he's not trying to die. Because if he was not really, okay, I'm not going to really be able to make it, why did he even run? And how the hell did he made it out of there and actually kind of run off from that thing, So there you see, and he's trying to like fight it, even though he just have a stick on his hand. So you can tell like he's not trying to die here. And he's just going with a stick to fight this thing, which he doesn't stand a chance.
It's a stop sign. And that is badass.
Yeah. Stop.
Kaiju with a stop sign. Just stop and think about that for a minute.
Stop.
But at the end of the day, I think that, I mean, my hate is very superficial, even towards Mina. I think that there's a usefulness. God, what a word! Gotta practice it. There's a usefulness to the nuance on their characteristics, because it just makes more noticeable the redeemable qualities on an underdog, which is Kafka.
Yeah.
Can I present what will probably be, at least in this group of podcast hosts, an unpopular opinion?
Oh, please. I love those.
Yes, please.
I don't hate Mina. I feel for her. I think she's in love with Hibino, but she won't admit to it because of her position and her situation. She wanted them both to get into the core, and I think she was gutted when he didn't get in. And I think she knows, because she's like she's the captain of the 3rd division, which is the division in his area. So he's been applying to get into that division all through his 20s and his late teens, and has failed over and over and over and over again. And I think personally that she understands how hard he's tried, but he just hasn't had what it took to get in. And when he passed the cap and he couldn't try anymore, I reckon she was devastated. She was gutted. I think that's why she's a kundere. She had to lock up her emotions and just do her job. And it's not mentioned in these 2 episodes, but it's mentioned in other episodes by Sashiro, that you shouldn't get too close to your team members because they're probably going to die.
Yeah.
And I suspect she's lost a lot of people under her command that she couldn't save, and that's ripped her heart out as well. And she's had to lock that all up. She's become a kundere because that's the only way she can deal with all this heartache, loss, and disappointment. And she's cut herself off from him because she knows that they didn't manage to both reach their goal and have their dream of fighting together against the kaiju. And she just has to live with that. And she calls it, like in that after credit scene where she's in the bath and she's going, "You liar." She's saying that because she's seen him again that day, and she's completely pretended like she didn't know him, but it's cut her heart again to see him and know that he's given up on his dream, or that's what she thinks. She doesn't know he's going to try out again in 10 days time.
Mm-hmm.
But she thinks that their dream is over, and she has to go on and defend the city and be this poster girl and be this person that everybody looks up to, and she's infallible, and she's the great commander of the 3rd division, who is like, she snipes with a wave motion gun, basically. she blows massive holes in kaijus and buildings and all but like, she's got this job. She's been built up as this undefeatable superhero kind of role, and she's got to stay strong, and she's got to look the part, not only for the defense force and to be the poster girl to get more people to join. And you find out later on that just about everybody who tried out and got through joined because of Mina. They all wanted to fight under her.
Bunch of groupies.
And when they find out that Kafka grew up with her, they like surround him and like, tell us what she was like as a kid. It's like, you've got the inside track, you bastard. We want to know more about Mina because we're all simps.
Yeah.
and this is another part of the fantastic writing. Her character she's in a really bad position. She's got to stay strong for everybody, for the defense force.
Is self-justified.
for all the people, all the people who, everybody who's cheering for her needs her to be strong so that they have a hope. They feel like they've got a hope against the kaiju.
She's not even number one.
She is their rock. Well, she's their rock, and she has to be the rock all the time. And inside, she's hurting. Her heart's been ripped out because Kafka didn't get in all those times. She's been waiting for him for a decade, and he didn't get in. And
was she waiting for him? If she thinks that he gave up or he didn't make it, she's not even.
Of course, she is. She's holding a candle for him. It's blindingly obvious that she's been in love with him since they were little kids. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She could have 100 boyfriends. She has no boyfriend. She lives alone with her tiger. Well,
that's what happens when you repress things.
She got a big kitty. Well. but
she's a cat lady. She's a cat lady.
Yeah, she is the cat lady. But the thing is, she's a beautiful woman. She's supremely powerful. She's got a really good job. She's high profile. There's going to be hundreds of guys out there who want to go out with her, but she's single. She doesn't date anybody. She has no husband. And she's well past marriageable age in Japan. You know, marriageable age in Japan is early 20s. That's the perception. But she's doing the whole career woman thing and just ignoring romance and dating and all that stuff because she's focused on her mission, destroy all kaiju. And she's torn up about Kafka. She's doing her best not to think about it. Then she sees him lying there all beat up, and she probably wanted to go to him, but she's the commander. She can't do that. So she's really cold about it.
Wait. Let me stop you there. Mm-hmm. She can do it. She won't do that. Because look at number one. The guy is an unmatched badass, and he's a totally goofy ass moron. Yeah. And he gets the job done, and he's respected outside of his personal life. You know? So she can do it. She won't do it. She's letting the doubt of what they would say, the public, rule out her decisions. And I think that's the hazardous thing is when we don't deal with what's inside of us going to deal with us. You know?
I think that you're a bit wrong. It's not, like I said, unpopular opinion. I think that she had to wall herself off from Kafka because the disappointment and the heartbreak of him not being there with her is so painful that she can't deal with it. And she couldn't go to him because she's so torn up inside. I think there's a lot of depths to Mina that we just haven't seen yet.
There is, if you guys get to read the manga, and I'm talking to the listeners out there, an episode 120 of the manga.
120? I thought it was only up to 113.
2110. Sorry.
I know you want more, Robert, but there isn't more.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's wishful thinking, dude.
Yes, I wish there was 120. And 110, I think we get a little sweet revenge on Mina.
Okay.
I am not gonna mention it. I'm just gonna let you guys continue with the story, read the manga, and get back to our Discord and let's discuss it.
Just gonna drop that in there.
Let me know if you agree or not in Discord. So just leaving that there. But yes, I think I'm not 100% feeling that she redeemed herself, but it was in the right path for what happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's got 10 years of disappointment to get over.
Yes.
And the fact that he turned into the thing she wants to kill.
Yes.
That takes a lot of getting over. That's a hurdle and a half, man.
You know why I feel so obtuse about disappointment? Because disappointment is a byproduct of our own expectations. And who am I to expect anything of no one? I've learned throughout life that I should not expect anything of no one, because even if you promise me something, you don't owe that to me, you know? So it's kind of self-entitled for me to be disappointed at you for anything, really. I know it does. I don't want it to sound bleak, but it even makes a perfect formula for living a happier life. Because it's good if it happens, and it's all right if it didn't. You know,
wedding vows are a promise.
Yeah.
Should you not expect them to be kept?
Wedding vows are a promise, but you think that a kid's promise is just as important as a wedding vow? When we are such a liar piece of crap community, so wedding vows are different. I mean, we even go to the process of going to court or to church and make a celebration about it and create life out of it. I wouldn't compare.
Who am I to judge you when you're level 5 in World of Warcraft?
I'm level 10. Excuse you.
I should reactivate my level 79 character.
You should. You should.
Are you playing classic or the current one?
The current one.
Current one.
Robert said the current one. Like shit. We missed him.
Wait to get to the level where there's flying mounts and things, invisible people just drop on you from out of the sky. That's
shoot. Okay. I'm not looking forward to that.
Why I stopped playing.
But yeah, I mean, that's why that's why I'm so hard on Mina. At the end of the day, I try to look at the usefulness in all the doubt that Kafka receives as a motivation. And I think that who did it more in a friendly way was Ichikawa. I do think I think that the fairness of it is because yes, you're special, just like everybody else. Everybody loses somebody. Look at what she probably could have deprived herself of because she literally let these emotions decide what was right or not to do. What if he would have died on that time? And I think that there's no worse thing to leave us with regret. And on top of that, you see him feeling bad that he didn't make it. Who's really carrying their hard emotional burden here? She that is disappointed at him because he didn't make it as a promise for kids, or him that feels like a failure in his life? Who really has a heavy cross to carry here? It's not her.
Well, you say that, but I still think she has a heavy cross to bear as the poster girl for the Defense Force. That's a lot of pressure.
That pressure, you can make it a pressure. You can make it something to be proud of. She's not the only captain of a unit. So you can see that there's different ways that you can take on that pressure and make it. You make out of things what you want to make out of things, not what they are. Reality is always, the beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. Our perception of reality comes from within, not from without.
Let me add for the listeners before you guys continue that we're only covering episode 1, episode 2, but to have a complete picture of what Captain Chaos is talking about, you might want to go finish the anime and extend it to the manga, because there are different divisions and each division has a different captain. So you could see each captain has its own unique what's the word?
Style.
It's style.
Yeah.
So everybody has a completely different style. So this is where Captain Chaos is referring to. So if you want to know more, you might want to go and continue to the manga, and then you can come back to understand what he's referring to.
And just for the record, we all should know by now that Ray is Captain Mina, Team Mina, and I'm Team Kafka.
I'm Team Kaiju. Sorry,
Kikoru.
Yeah, Kikoru. I'm a Kikoru simp.
You see, even though I trash about her being a spoiler, or whatever, I was being just slandering there. But you see, I like how she didn't let her life look down on Kafka. She right away spot Kafka and recognized him, and even kept the secret for him.
Yes,
which I thought it was so cool. Like she was the least adequate person to keep that secret, and she did.
And I gotta correct you there. It's Shino Miya, not Shino Tuya.
No, I don't know how to make her mind.
For all of you out there who who do not understand Spanish, can you explain, Gio, what I'm referring to?
He meant like Shino yours.
Shino Mia sounds like Shino is mine.
Mine.
And Shino Tuya is Shino is yours.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Pum pum pum. Continue.
Follow us for more Spanish little tips.
I'm sorry.
The captain of the first division, you reminded me of him, Jin Narumi. The geek gamer.
It's so powerful.
Who has to be dragged out of his gaming den to fight Kaiju.
I don't have to be dragged out of my den. Wow, now I know what you think about me. Thanks.
Did you change your name to Jin Narumi? But look, the writing of this story, the characterization, the histories of the characters and their motivations and their hang-ups, they're all very, very human. They've all got stuff they're dealing with, from Kafka being a washout and a failure, but still wanting to keep his promise. And, you know, like Jin Narumi being a geek gamer who just wants to play computer games, but he keeps getting dragged out of his gaming den to fight Kaiju. To Mina's issues, to and you know, you only get to see Kikiju Shinomiya for like 2 minutes at the end of the second episode, and already she's notable.
Yes,
they call Kafka calls her the Gremlin, and my son called her the Gremlin through the whole rest of our watch of the show. My son's 11, and he thought this show was the bees. He loved it, and he's like, "Oh, there's the Gremlin," and I'm like, "Her name's Kikiju." No, the Gremlin.
What's up with that old man at 32? Come on.
I don't know. I know.
Come on.
I guess I'm an old man.
Yeah, once you hit 25-year-old in Japan, that's just the thing. But the whole depth of these characters is amazing, and I happen to like Kikiju because I really feel for her situation and what she goes through. In that, you don't see it in the anime yet, but it's coming up in season 2, which has been greenlit, by the way. So we're getting a season 2.
Woohoo!
I think it's coming next year, and Kikiju goes through hell. Like, she's arrogant and she's really good at what she does.
She's arrogant, but she's not malicious.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the lovable thing about her.
But the reason she's arrogant is because her father is the commander of the whole defense forces for Japan, and he said, "You have to be perfect."
Yes.
I will accept nothing else. And she's like, when she's a little kid, she goes home to him and goes, "Look, Daddy, I got first in the exam for the entire year." He says, "And so you should. Now, don't rest on your laurels. Get on with it."
On the other hand, me as a kid, I'll give a stick little drawing to my mom. She's like, "Oh, that's so beautiful. You're the best."
And we see why you're not a member of the defense forces.
There you go.
But you know, it's one of these situations of a driven kid who's talented, and she's been flogged by her father. But then the father has issues of his wife's death, and they've all got shit going on, and it's really human. And that's one of the things that gives this story depth and flavor and nuance, and makes it feel really just works.
Yes. And I mean, one of the most beautiful and redeemable things about Kikoru is she has all the reason to hate kaijus. It stole away her life. And still, she gave a chance to Kafka when she learned what he was. And when she told her, "I would kill you if you put in danger at anybody," Kafka is so freaking noble that he said, "Make it so."
Yeah. And you know, what that speaks about the rest of the team, including Mina, that it would take, and again, I'm going past episode 2 here. It takes him.
We all knew this was gonna happen, Robert.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
I still had to warn it. It takes Kafka showing himself as a kaiju while defending everybody.
Yep. He gave up his secret to protect them.
The embodiment of selflessness.
What would happen if you say, for example, Mina, put Mina in the situation as Shinomiya? I think the outcome would have been a lot different.
I think that Shinomiya, she had a different perspective because she was younger and she was dealing with so much disappointment. Her motivations are somewhat different in that she's expected to be the best of the best and she's going out there to try and achieve it. Yeah. But she hasn't got that emotional connection to Kafka. So she doesn't have all this sort of baggage that she's dragging around that would color her decisions.
Yes.
And she feels indebted to him too because he saved her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
He risked being discovered to save her. You know? And I mean, that speaks volumes about how noble she is at heart, really.
Well, we see in episode 2 that she activates her anti-kaiju suit and picks up the car and throws it off the 55 parking spot because it's her number for the day.
Yeah. How to get an entrance to a character that will make you just be like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, she's a teenager. It's like the shit that teenagers do before they grow up enough to realize that it's not important. But then we don't see this in the episode, but it's in the very next episode. He goes over to the car and just, it's on its side and he picks it up and puts it down. And she's like, what? And he just activated his arms and his spine and his legs so that he could pick this car up and ride it. And he goes, I just did the little bits and I kept them hidden. Nobody noticed. He goes, dude, you picked up a car. and that makes Kikiju really interested in the old man because she wants to know where this power came from and she's waiting for him to demonstrate it again during the exams. And he refuses point blank. He will not cheat. He will not use his kaiju power to get ahead in the exams. And it pretty much sinks him. It was the only way, because I think that he couldn't mesh with the suit properly because he's kaiju, and it didn't work.
Which was very, very lucky for him that it wouldn't interfere or show what he really was, right?
Mm. Well, there's that. I had a sneaking suspicion when I first saw it that he might have gone straight to 100%. Because he was kaiju already, but it didn't. It was the exact opposite. It was like chalk and cheese. They would not mesh, and he had 0%.
In that moment, I was actually afraid. I thought at all moments when I saw the suits, I was like, "This is gonna be his downfall." Yeah. The moment that he puts his suit, it's gonna be a beacon of what I am. I'm screwed. Yeah. You know, that's what I was thinking when he was gonna put the suit. So it was a great plot twist, I think.
Yeah, and when Shiro cracked up laughing, it's like, oh, we gotta let this guy in. He's so funny.
Yep.
What was it? He was a 0 or 1? I think it was a 0.
He was a 0.
Oh yes, that's true.
He was a 0. He got to 0.1 during the combat trial.
What was it that he said? Like,
no, he got to 1%, wasn't it?
No, he got to like 1% after training.
Yeah, it was later.
But what he said, like, we never seen a 0 in here, and on point.
Yep,
that's what happens.
We see Kafka, and he's just started laughing. What he said never happened, just happened. Yeah. Oh my god!
But the whole thing is, they think he's such a completely useless piece of shit. And he's more powerful than all of them put together, but he can't show them.
Yep.
And you see this in episode 2. And this is why I said we can't just do one episode. It's only 20 minutes anyway, 23 minutes. We got to do 2 episodes, because this whole introduction and becoming a kaiju is like something that is intrinsically linked. So we had to do the 2 episodes. And when he's running away from the self-defense forces led by Mina, so Mina's coming after him because he was seen as a kaiju in the hospital. And oh my God, it was amazing when he's like, oh, I'm a kaiju now. And he goes and he just puts his hand against the wall to lean against the wall, and the wall explodes. It's like,
and when he opens the window,
oh yeah. And like he's using what he thinks is normal human power level, but he is like 900 times stronger than he thinks he is. 920 times stronger than he thinks he is. So he reaches over to the window, grabs it, and just rips the entire wall out. And he's like, whoops.
Yep. It was just hilarious, man.
And that's why I wrote a game called OP, because it's these moments where you just go, holy shit, I misjudged that. But yeah, and then the scene where he goes to where the Yujo is that he'd been attacked by already, and now he's a fortitude 9.2 kaiju, which is no, it's not 9.2, it's 9.6. So he's fortitude 9.6, and has no kaiju's ever been seen that powerful before. There just hasn't been one. The most they'd seen before is 9, and he's 9.6, and he shows up where this Yujo is attacking a little girl and her mother who's trapped underneath a bookcase, and the thing's just about to eat the little girl, and he just walks up and goes punk and knocks it out of the building, and you see him just go punk, and then they switch to this wide shot, and there's this across about 4 blocks of the city where the thing's just been pounded through about 5 buildings.
Yep.
I just had to mention the line. Like Ichikawa says, what are you going to do? And Kafka said, I'm going to punch it.
As hard as I can.
Really hard.
He said, as hard as I can, which is beautiful. But the little girl, he tries to smile at the little girl, and it's like,
it scares him more.
Scares him more. And then he says, look, I realize I'm scary. I'm going to deal with this thing for you. We're going to rescue your mother, and then I'm going to go away. Okay. So, because I don't want to scare you. And the little girl's like, okay. And then he said, what are you going to do? I'm going to punch this thing as hard as I can. And then he starts counting down. The thing's like sticking its head back through the wall again. He goes 3, 2, 1. And as he's counting down, he's like grips his fist, and then lightning starts zapping around his fist. It's like, oh, this is going to be messy. And he punches the thing and basically disintegrates it.
Yes.
And punches it up in the air. And then he's standing there, and it's just like
raining
drops of blood. And then it rains blood.
That's one of the coolest things, dude.
That's what I'm talking about. OP is awesome if it's done right. And Ichikawa turns to him and said, you know, sir, that's something you should never do to a person.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, noted.
And I'll tell you something. That's one of the peak scenes that throughout the series that I've seen so far, and I will say even what I've read, because of what the girl says to Mina later on.
Yes.
She calls him the good kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, whoa.
Mina goes to interview the little girl, and she's like, the little girl's scared, and she goes, don't worry, little girl, we're going to kill all the kaiju. He says, well, yeah, you can kill the bad kaiju, but don't hurt the good kaiju. And she's like,
the flip a switch.
The what? The what?
Yep. And it leaves you wondering because he doesn't have the time or space to really practice and harness this power. So he's this powerful again. And he just gets to practice this when there's a fight. And he's just done it 3 times in the series.
Yeah.
And he
So
doesn't know what he's doing. He's just trying things out.
exactly. He doesn't know the full extent of what he is. It leaves you wondering.
It leaves
Well,
you wonder how powerful he is really because he doesn't know what he's doing. How are they measuring? Like even the measuring system that they're using on him, what was it right now? 9 point something? That could
9.6.
be wrong. Yeah, 9.6. That could be wrong because he hasn't shown anything more powerful than that because he doesn't know what he can do.
Yep.
Well, I have a theory about power levels. The massive one was 2.6. And then we have these humanoid ones that are up around 9. But the thing that infested him was this tiny little bug thing. And my theory is that the smaller the kaiju, the more power it has because it's the same amount of power squished into a smaller space.
Concentrated.
It's a good thing you mentioned that because there's a conversation that me and Gio were having on our, our Discord.
And you need to be part of this little part, Ray, because you're the biologist. So you might agree with me or not.
I feel that we have something even bigger that we don't know.
Sure.
That's the reason why, can't wait to read the manga because right now the anime is so behind on the story. But the fact that this flying thing says the line that we said at the beginning of this episode.
Found you.
That means he was looking.
Yeah.
Now, here's my argument. I think that he was looking for Kafka. And when I say this, I'm not saying Kafka as the name. I'm saying as the being that is known as Kafka. Because this thing is flying around. It has the ability, I guess it has been looking. It has looked through many, many people. So the fact that he found you acknowledges that this thing identifies Kafka as the person or the thing that it was looking for.
That's something special.
Now, there's a reason why. And I want to know about. Now, the question is, and Gio, you could probably put a little light onto what your opinion is on this thing.
So the way I see it, Robert says that this kaiju is very powerful too. The way I see it, when he says find you, he was looking for the perfect specimen to host. So to me, it was not the person Kafka, but basically I see this kaiju like a parasitical form of life where a parasite on a vial isn't very dangerous, but on the right host, it is unparalleled, the things I can do. And I think that when he said find you, he found the perfect host. Kind of let's make a comparison Venom to achieving symbiosis with I forgot his name. God damn it.
Well, he was on Spider-Man and they didn't jive. So
exactly. So to me, the find you is not Kafka the person, but the perfect host. And I think that the kaiju in the little flying way, it's not really dangerous. But once he finds his host, it evolves to something dangerous. And I think that was Kafka at that moment. And I think that that's more on a genetical spectrum. It probably wouldn't be able to become that in any other person. And since we are so unique, molecularly speaking, I think that that's what made him rare. But I will say he could have done that to any other 8,000, 5,000 people in the whole Japan. But there's so many people in Japan that it's not like you can just pinpoint one of them, you know?
I have a feeling that this thing has been looking, and it has been looking for a long time. But then that's just my thought. Ray, what is your thought on this?
Well, it is still like something that happened very early on in the story, at least in the manga, and it has not been revealed what that meant yet. Now, I have a few theories. As a writer, I'm always coming up with these things. Now, if the kaijus are coming like they are in
Manga.
In Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
The kaijus were coming from basically fishes in the bottom of the ocean, which were connected to another place.
Yes,
they were connected to the planet of the monsters or dimension of monsters or whatever it was. I don't know exactly what it was, but if it's a similar situation, this could be an invasion. The kaiju could be an invasion, and it does kind of feel that way based on what Kaiju number 9 gets up to. Now, why would a kaiju be looking for a host, a little guy, and why would it be so strong? I'm thinking maybe it's the resistance. Like the kaiju that are invading are part of like an imperium or something like that, and there's more than one political power, or there's more than one side.
that makes sense.
And the little guy was sent to help the people being invaded on the other side. Because why would a kaiju infest a host, a human host, and then let that human host control its power to do whatever it wanted? Why would it do that? Wouldn't it like take over the body like in Parasite?
Yes.
And control it? It wouldn't just give up. It wouldn't just give up its power unless it had a reason to, and the reason would be to help defend the people who are being invaded. So that's my feeling.
Don't you think that's not entirely accurate thinking that there is a struggle between the kaiju and Kafka? Because the kaiju does take over against his will, and there is an evident struggle between the two entities within the body.
Yes.
So it's not like he's letting Kafka control him. It's just he doesn't have the ability, probably.
I don't know.
To fully do it, at least to fully do it, because he takes over. Like when he's being tested, Kafka goes completely unconscious inside of it.
I would have
to fight back.
I would have to side with Ray only because of one reason.
I like his theory though. It makes a lot of sense.
If this kaiju did not want Kafka to have control, it's just the fact that he's been looking around, and it seems to me that he's been looking around for a long time, and he finally found. It sounds to me like it was well planned. To me, at least. So, if it was well planned, and this was supposed to be to take over a human, it would have happened from the very first episode 1. At least that's my interpretation on the whole thing. I mean, we could all be completely wrong. This has not, it has not been
the canon explanation is not yet available.
Exactly. But I do have to kind of point. I like your explanation on this, because it actually supports the fact that there is a plan involved when you are searching, and the fact that he found signifies that the end of the plan is at hand. And to me, if the plan would have included the domination of humans, Kafka would have no longer be Kafka from episode 1.
Yep.
And I think I would have to support what Ray says, and again, notice my hesitation, because again, I'm gonna have to go through the manga. I would have to agree, because even within the same faction, if you remember,
Kaiju number 10.
I forgot the name of the sword second in command.
Soshiro.
Yeah. When he got his kaiju on the manga, there was a struggle between the two, but he was kind of pretty much in the same vein as the human host. And that leads me to believe that although, and again, this kaiju was a creation of kaiju number 10. So the fact that he can make his own mind and he can make his own decisions, because it was a decision on fighting who's the strongest one so he can become whatever weapon for that human. So that leads me to believe that they have free will, although they were created. So not only is there struggle, which makes sense in whatever planet or plane they're coming from, but they all have free will to think whatever they want to do whatever they want to do, think whatever they want to think, because it's proved on that kaiju by his actions, even though they were in the same band as number 10, which are the ones that are trying to control the earth. What do you guys, I don't know if you guys got to read that in the manga. Yeah, what is your thought on that? By the way, it is hilarious. I love the chemistry between the kaiju and the host. It is, oh my God, I was laughing my head off.
Well, just to give the listeners a bit of context, so all the suits that they wear are created from kaiju, but they're just general kaiju parts. So extra strength, extra speed, extra stamina, blah, blah, blah. You get shot. It can stop the bleeding and all this sort of stuff. So these suits are very helpful. And depending on how much combat power you can draw out of them, and, you know, it's a significant amount of power that they can output, but only for a certain amount of time before they overheat. The combat suits are just basically everybody can wear one, and you just see how much power you can draw out of it. The weapons, the guns, the special guns, the special weapons, and the special handheld weapons are all made from kaiju, but the really special weapons, they're the ones made from specific major kaiju, which caused a huge amount of damage to humanity before they were stopped. And these kaijus were taken and turned into weapons. Kikaju's axe, the gauntlets from her father, and the swords created for Soshiro from number 10, and they all still have the kaiju's will in them. And to be able to use them, you have to be able to dominate that kaiju's will. There was actually a suit made from kaiju number 6, I think it was. And the only person who had ever been able to control that was Kikaju's mother, Hikari Shinomiya. And she died fighting another numbered kaiju. So, oh yeah, the numbered kaiju are the really badass ones. So there hasn't been all that many until the time of kaiju number 8. And then we get 9, 10, 11, 12, 34. It just goes bonkers. Because the full-on invasion is on. I mean, the anime is great. I mean, if you manage to watch the first 2 episodes and then come listen to us, I applaud you. You have a lot of willpower.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I couldn't do it.
I fully expect you have watched the entire season and want more. You may have even started reading the manga because you just can't not. It's just, you got to know. And that's a sign of, you know, top tier writing. But the numbered kaiju weapons and the suit, which Hikari Shinomiya wore, and then Kikiju eventually ends up wearing, they're all created from kaiju that A, are stupidly powerful, and B, are stupidly headstrong. And you've got to have a huge amount of willpower to dominate them and be able to use them. So only certain people can do it. So that tells me that Kafka Hibino has a stupid amount of willpower to be able to dominate the kaiju that infested him.
Yes.
Yet again, another quality that can be measured by brute force.
Exactly.
It's an intangible quality, but yet it's a quality that has very real consequences.
And I think, I mean, I'm going back past the first 2 episodes, but when Kafka saves Kikiju from kaiju number 9, she recognizes in him that willpower. And I think that is why she respects him. Like they start out in the first instance to have this really abrasive relationship. They hate each other. He calls her the gremlin, and she calls him the useless old man.
Remember my name.
Yeah. And then he completely fails. Every way possible. Because he refuses to cheat and use the kaiju power.
Yes. Yes.
And he says, I will make it or fail under my own steam like every other time. And, you know, Ichikawa is like, well, I want you to pass, but I don't want you to get caught as a kaiju. And he's like, should you, shouldn't you, should you, shouldn't you? And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cheat. This is going to be me or nothing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's his forthrightness, his determination to try and do things the right way, his knowledge, his determination to protect everybody and bring them all home alive, even if it means he's outed as a kaiju and might get turned into a weapon. And at the end of the series, the first season, it really looks like they're going to execute him.
Yeah.
And everybody's worried about it. So, I mean, fantastic storytelling, fantastic characters, amazingly put together, amazing animation, fantastic voice acting, amazing soundtrack. This is probably the best shonen I've ever seen.
Let's hope they don't cancel it like every other one.
Oh no, we're getting another one. Season 2 next year.
Yeah, no, that doesn't mean that the series is gonna be done by then.
I want a live action, and I'm afraid.
Shonen already has been traumatized, and
it is really bloody.
There's a reason I follow a very good podcast, which I didn't mention on the shoutouts, but I will take advantage to plug them in right now, which is called Shonen Flop.
Oh yes,
it's because there's so many great shonens that never meet the end, and they are such a tragedy not doing so. So go and check them out too. Shonen Flop, great podcast. But yeah,
awesome. Okay, so I think we are at the point in the show where we are ready for the last question. And if you are new to the show, that question is, what is your last impression of the show?
I kind of feel like I just did one.
Yeah, you kind of feel like it. You're gonna have to repeat yourself though. No, just kidding.
So, I guess who wants to go first?
Yep, just continue. Just continue.
Just continue on. Yeah, if you like shonen and you like kaiju, you have to watch this. You have to. You don't have a choice. Just do it. Do it. Do it now.
Nice. Gio, any last?
This is one of the best animes I've gotten in a while. I think I will put it up there with Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah.
And so much love I have for the IP.
Triple S tier.
And for Eris?
Yes. Yeah.
For Eris. You're a shit stirrer, Robert.
I'm gonna talk to your wife. I'm gonna talk to your wife so
Robit.
she beat the crap out of you and see how long you keep on saying that. I'll make her get a red tint in her hair too to drive her more home.
You watch
You,
it, so she knows.
you need to watch our Forbidden Planet episode to get the Robit thing.
Yeah.
I definitely, it's a highly regarded to me anime. I think that you should watch it. They say if you like kaiju and anime, I think that you don't even need to like kaiju or anime for that matter. It's such a great story that it will be enjoyed. Even though there's a lot of brutality happening or whatever, I don't think that it feels that way, which I think is very, very masterfully done. You know, there's monsters with guts and stuff, and you still don't feel like you're watching Berserker, which will traumatize you. So it is pretty cool. I mean, Ray Kids is watching it, and that says so much of like how family friendly it is, really, because there's no brutality into it. There's so much comedy, good, well input into it. While you have the seriousness of things, so much that sometimes I feel like I overthink the seriousness of the situations within the story because they are so playful about it. I think it's a well-written story, and I think that if you have not watched it, you're missing out, definitely. And I dare you, double dare you, to watch the anime and not go and look for the manga.
Double to you.
And bad news, there ain't light novels.
Yeah.
But must watch, definitely.
Awesome. I guess it's my turn.
And Mina sucks.
No, normally I'd be on the other side going, no, she doesn't. But I'm a Kaiju simp, so.
One of the things that I can say as my last thought on this story as a whole is I have watched the anime, I have read the manga, except for the last 3 because I'm waiting for I'm waiting for them to pile up so I don't suffer from. It takes me like a 5 minutes to read a volume every time it comes up, and then I suffer because I have to wait for the next one. So that's the reason why I'm letting it pile up. But this is, although I know the story, although I watched the anime, although I read the manga, this would be one of the few stories that I would even go out to a bookstore and pick up the physical manga and have it in my library. And I think that says a lot because, you would think I already know the story. I read the manga. I'm caught up. Why would you want to have the physical book? And that tells you how much I love the story. I'm going to have to echo.
Either how much he loves the story or how much of a collector he is.
Well, technically, I'm not a collector because I don't buy digital. I only buy digital media out of everything. And Gio knows this. He has access to my Kindle collection. All of my books are in Kindle.
I got more books in that Kindle that I could find on Barnes & Noble.
Exactly. I don't buy physical media. So the fact that I'm telling you, I'm willing to go out and buy the physical manga, that should say a lot about me. And I would have to echo Captain Chaos here when he says you don't have to be the type of person who likes the genre that this is in to enjoy. I would have to say 100%. It's just so well written. The story is so amazing that I find it very, very hard to believe that even if you don't like anime, that you would not love the story. The story is amazing. And the reason why at the beginning of the show, I mentioned the fact that if you are a kaiju fan, and let me just put everything in that bucket, kaiju. There's many, many, many movies and TV shows. I mean, there's one out there on Apple TV right now. There's the Pacific Rim, the Pacific Rim TV show, all that stuff. I'm going to put it all into one bucket, the kaiju genre. if you are in love with this genre, you are not doing yourself a favor by not watching this. I am a fan of the Kaiju genre myself. And even though there's no mech, like in some of the Kaiju genres that we see, it reminds me, what I envision this to be is kind of like the future of Godzilla and how humanity moved forward after the initial Godzilla attack into Tokyo. But the story is amazing. I can't wait for more of this story. And I actually want to hear from you guys, and I will echo Ray in what I'm about to say here. I would like to hear from you guys to see if you are able to just watch the first and second episode of this and not continue.
And you got to tell us if you're Team Mina or Team Kafka.
Or Team Kaiju like I am.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very, very curious. As a matter of fact, I want to hear, especially if you never watched an anime, or if you in some cases hate anime. Just watch the first.
Really? What's wrong with you?
Well, it's not for everyone. But if especially on those two, if you just watch the first episode and get back to us and let us know what you think. I'm really very curious to hear your thoughts, especially if you never watch anime or you hate anime. And I believe that is my final thought.
I'd be a very sad panda if anybody hates anime, like across the board. I mean, there might be certain genres of anime, like you mightn't like mystery, or you mightn't like shonen, or you mightn't like, some other type of anime, but just to hate the whole thing.
I mean, what I really like is what they call it cartoons, and then I show them Attack on Titans.
I know people, and like I said, it's not for everybody, which is okay. So that's the reason why I'm curious about specifically this one, because of the story. It's the story. It's just, this could very well be a AAA movie or a TV show.
I could see Tom Cruise in it.
Yes. Yes. So
he might be a bit old to play the old man now, but I could see him trying.
I think he can make it happen.
He would do a good Shinomiya commander.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So
I mean, the thing I've always loved about shonen is the technology that's part of the story, and a lot of manga artists and anime artists have this knack of making it feel normal. Like you see kaiju stomping down the street and it looks totally believable. It just looks like something that could happen. You walk down the street and you look up and there's this massive kaiju. It's like, oh shit, I missed the alerts. Run to the shelter, kind of deal. And it just feels like it all fits together. And it's just that weave of common day, like skyscrapers and stuff in a big city, linked with the fantastical, which is the kaiju weapons and the kaiju themselves, and the defense force fighting them inside the city while everybody's running for shelters. And it just works. The way they're drawn, the way they're animated, it just feels real, like it could happen just like this. And that's some real talent. Yeah, stuff like that. And I've seen it in a lot of manga. Beautifully drawn panels with like big cities and stuff. And it's all very intricate, very delicate, very on point. And it just amazes me every time I see something like that. And this is one of those properties that really amazes me with its ability to make it believable.
Agree. 100%.
Sorry, I just thought I'd get that in there.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we're ready for our last segment.
Yep.
Sci-fi.
Now, if I was being brutally honest about this, it would have to be considered science fantasy, much like Star Wars, in that physics doesn't hold much sway here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Basically, anything much bigger than a sperm whale, which is, about 30 meters long and requiring to be in the water all the time, or its weight crushes its lungs and it can't breathe, it basically can't exist on land. And yet here we've got kaiju twice as big and even bigger, wandering around the place, wrecking shit up. So basically, based on physics of biological specimens, I mean, if they were coming from another place and they had a different, like they didn't use calcium for bone, they used like a metal or something, maybe it could work. But anything based on the biology of this planet couldn't get that big. It would just be crushed under its own weight. There's something called the cube R law, which basically says that you double the size of anything and you've cubed the weight, and therefore you've cubed the necessary structural components.
Kind of the opposite thing to what happens to oxygen under the pressure of water.
Yeah, kind of. But this is basically saying that anything bigger, much bigger than an elephant, couldn't exist on land, and anything much bigger than a whale couldn't exist in water, because you get to a certain size and you just squashed under your own weight. The physical structures don't have the strength to resist the amount of weight pushing down from your physical form. So I have a number of sources off the internet here. Now, kaiju biology is, theoretical at best, but basically these things talk about here's one.
While you're getting that, let me put this into perspective. Correct me if I got my data wrong, but I heard that basically, like, you think about dinosaurs, and it was said that there was actually 10% more oxygen density back then that there is now, explaining how they could be so large and survive compared to now.
Well, oxygen needs to diffuse through tissues. If you've got a good circulatory system, that makes it a lot easier. Why you could only have giant insects in the past was because insects rely a lot on oxygen diffusion. They don't have as complicated a circulatory system as mammals do.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually breathe through little holes down their sides. They don't have lungs. And then the oxygen has to diffuse into their tissues. So the bigger they get, the harder it is to get oxygen to the tissues further inside the body. And therefore, eventually you're going to have oxygen starvation in the core of the animal, and it's not going to function anymore. So that's a major problem. So now this one's from Lab Roots, and it's called "Here's Why Godzilla Could Never Exist According to Science." It's written by Anthony Bruchard, and basically we're looking at things like nerve messages from the brain can only travel at a certain speed through the body. It's much slower than the speed of light because it's traveling through biological cells and requiring chemical transmission between cells. So you get a problem where nerve messages coming from the brain would take multiple seconds to get to the lower limbs, and that would screw up your ability to walk. If you're trying to, if the kaiju was trying to move in a particular way to, dodge an attack or move around an obstacle or something like that, there'd be a huge amount of delay.
Why did the Kaiju fall off the cliff? Because his brain didn't respond in time to break. So stop.
Basically. Basically. So things here. Mike Habib, paleontologist at the Natural History Museum at Los Angeles County. It would be biologically impossible for a living creature to grow anywhere near as large as Godzilla. For this to happen, the creature's heart would need to be large enough to pump lots of blood to the head, nearly the entire size of the chest cavity, which wouldn't allow much room for other organs. Many of the world's largest vertebrates, including Titanosaurus, walked on four legs and held their heads in front of their bodies, which prevented the heart from pumping blood against gravity. So instead of having the head up here, the head was over here. So the blood had to go sideways rather than against gravity. But Godzilla walks on two legs and necessitate vast amounts of energy to push the blood up to the head. Now, I don't think it was mentioned in here, but there was a thing from Professor Google, which was basically saying that with a body that large, you basically have to eat all the time and you'd be so tired that you'd be sleeping most of the time as well. So it would also make it very difficult for something that large to move around much or fight or have the energy to fight because it would have to be eating all the time to get enough energy to even move. And if it couldn't find food for a little while, it would just keel over because it couldn't supply itself. So there were some other papers as well, or articles.
So is that why kaiju is are always eating people?
Pretty much. They're going to eat everything they can. There was one other thing that I saw. There was the nerve issue. Basically, the structure of the legs wouldn't be strong enough to hold the massive body weight up. The bones wouldn't be strong enough because calcium can only support a certain amount of weight per centimeter square of bone material. So, it would have to have hardened bones. It would have to have basically different cell structure. Now, if these things are coming from another planet, perhaps they're coming from somewhere which has got heavier gravity. Maybe that would then help them when they come here to be able to handle the pressure and the weight that their bodies would have in our gravity. But yeah, basically, there's a ton of different reasons why any sort of normal creature, if it was made of the same biological materials as the creatures on Earth, it would be basically impossible for them to exist in the physics in our reality. So don't worry, boys and girls. You don't have to worry too much about Godzilla rocking up or any other kaiju. It's very unlikely. Now, the human-sized kaiju, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Oh, yes.
Now, wherever their energy is coming from and however they're developing it and using it, I don't know. That's the science fantasy part of things. But I do feel like the Kaiju number 8 story, it's reasonably internally consistent. I mean, they're always surprising us with new things, but it doesn't necessarily break the internal consistency of the world. And yeah, I mean, the human-sized ones I'd be much more concerned about showing up than the giant ones, because yeah, anything much bigger than an elephant, and if it was made of the same stuff that we're made of and the other animals on this planet, it would have a whole lot of trouble existing in our gravity and pressure. So science says no, at least to the big ones, unless they're coming from another planet or another dimension where things work differently, which is possible. But we haven't seen anything from another dimension yet, so it's all theoretical. So I don't think we have to worry too much about Pacific Rim or Kaiju number 8 becoming a reality. it's a fun story.
Well, we might worry about Pacific Rim about humans using giant robots, but not about the monsters.
Well, I mean, besides anime and mecha maniacs, giant robots don't really seem to have a use yet. I mean, if we had to fight kaiju, then giant robots would be like, duh.
Yeah.
But as we don't have kaiju to fight, we don't really need to make them yet. The thing about technological advancement is that need creates technological advancement. The two major times in the last century where there was massive technological advancement, actually three, World War I, World War II, and the Cold War.
Yep.
There's one word in all three of those.
War.
War. When you need to fight somebody and you're fighting for your life, you get creative.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the creations, as if you watch any of those wacky weapons from World War II shows, a lot of them failed miserably. But the ones that didn't, they were nasty. So, I mean, for all the failures, and science is like that. Science and engineering will have a lot of failures before there's a success. And everybody forgets about the failures unless they want to have a chuckle. But it's the successes that push us forward. And as we said the other week in Forbidden Planet, they expected it to take 150 years to get to the moon in 1956. 2 years later, NASA was created. And 11 years later, we had people on the moon. And that was the reason they did that so fast, was because they wanted to beat the Russians at something.
Yeah.
They had a reason. There was that lovely war word, Cold War, but still war.
Still.
And, you know, they were competing. And when there's that sort of competition, be it for prestige or be it for survival, people get creative and people do amazing things.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, science takes leaps and bounds.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I don't really want another war to push science forward, but it's a fact. That's that when things get desperate, that's when people start thinking really hard.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us for this episode of Science Fiction Remnant. We had a lot of fun with this one. I was dying to do this. Absolutely dying. Such a good show. Watch it if you haven't already. If you haven't already, why not? What's wrong with you? Do you just not have Crunchyroll? It could be the problem. But yeah, fantastic show. So good. And then come and chat to us on our Discord channel. We love our Discord channel. We get to talk to lots of people about all these fantastic shows that we're covering. And we'd like you to come and join us too. There's a link on the screen right now that you can use your phone to just scan that QR code in, and that will take you to our Discord. If you haven't got Discord already, then you can download the app, set up a account, and be on our Discord very quickly. We love it when new people come to chat with us. Bring your best opinions, bring your favorite IPs, let us know what you like. And of course, we're happy to discuss any sort of sci-fi and sci-fi adjacent IP with you. And you might tell us about something we don't know about. Get interested. So we love all sorts of sci-fi, and we'd love you to tell us about your favorite ones and discuss our favorite ones with us, because that's what This Is Sci-Fi is all about. So join us for that. Of course, if you are not watching the video on YouTube, there will be a link to the Discord in the show notes. So check that out. We also have a couple of websites. We have www.sciencefictionremnant, or one word, squashed together.com. That's our main website where you will find the most current episode and our back catalogue. You can get through from there into your favorite Podchaser and get us linked in there and listen to our episodes, which we would love you to do. We have a lot of fun with this, and we think you would too. So join us. Recommend that you listen or watch or play the IP or read the IP before you listen to us, because we spoil the crap out of it. We can't help ourselves. We want to talk about it, so we can't just sort of dance around it. We dance right in the middle of it. So be aware of that, and then come and join us once you've checked out the IP for our deep dives. We also have a website, This Is Sci-Fi, or one word, just like the hashtag, except without the hash at the start. It's www.thisissci-fi.net. It's in its infancy. It's meant to be a hub for creators and people who are really into sci-fi to connect with these creators, and you can find something new there and hopefully join us on that particular site where we're building up to get more people interested in sci-fi and get them to experience a wider breadth of sci-fi than perhaps they're into at the present. So join us on that one. We also have a Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, we'd really appreciate it. For a small monthly donation, you can be a patron. And being that our Patreon is in its infancy, you could be someone who gets to help us decide what we're going to give you as rewards. So do join us on that one if you can afford it. Of course, things are a bit tight with inflation these days. We understand that. So if you want to make a one-off donation to the show, you're quite welcome to do that through Buy Me a Coffee. We do need to keep our resident chaos maker, Captain Chaos, down there caffeinated. So if you could buy him a coffee, he'd greatly appreciate it, and we'd greatly appreciate it too. We have a hotline. You can leave us a message. I forgot to copy past the phone number in there because it's not in our template. I'll have to sort that out at some point. But you can call us on 1-305-563-6334. The one, of course, is if you're not continental United States. If you are continental United States, it's 305-563-6334. Leave us a message there. We'll have a listen. We'll play it on the show if you're happy for us to do so and talk around it during our This Is Sci-Fi section. So you could be part of the show that way. Of course, if you have a favorite IP that we haven't covered, we'd love you to join us on the show and tell us about it. So do hit us up either on the hotline or through Discord and say, hey, you haven't done X. Actually, we haven't done X. That's a great series of computer games and sci-fi. We should do X. XCOM. But yes, you haven't done this particular IP. You should do it. It's awesome. We'll check it out. And we'd love for you to come on the show and be our resident expert. And you could even lead the discussion if you feel up to it and tell us about your love of your particular IP. Of course, if we've already covered the IP that you really like, do check us out on our back catalogue and do check us out on our Discord for the discussion of that particular IP. And you can lead the discussion if you've got a new take on it, or if you've got a point that you want to tease out about that particular IP. We'd love to talk to you about it because we love all things sci-fi, and our Discord is the place for that sort of a discussion. So do join us on our Discord and do check out our back catalog. There's lots of great sci-fi content there. We have so much fun doing this podcast, and we hope that you have a whole lot of fun listening to it. And with that, hopefully we'll catch you next week for another great IP and another great episode of Science Fiction Remnant.